joyful and triumphant. Oh, come, Holy, come.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good evening, everybody. That's why no one was responding. I'd like to invite you all to welcome you all to the Caribbean Community Lunch Club Christmas dinner. We're so delighted to see so many people have come out, and we just want to talk a little bit about what the Caribbean Lunch Club does. So we'll have various different speakers who will come up and tell you a little bit about what we have done throughout the year. Now, for those of you who have been here for the first time, the Caribbean Community Lunch Club, which is a community interest company, evolved out of what was the West Indian Lunch Club that used to run on a Tuesday. And so we revamped it and we restarted on the 17th of March. In fact, we have one person that we need to thank a lot for what we have achieved, and that's Adam Chengu. Stand up, Adam. Stand up so everyone can see you. He works for the council and he has been what you'd call the connect that has connected us to so many different people, that has enabled us to have funding and various different things. So we are very grateful for the work that he's done at the council. And as we progressed through the year, we went into partnership with a number of different organisations, and we just want to recognise some of those organisations. Some of them are here today. So we were in partnership with Buckinghamshire Council. We are in partnership with Helping Hands, which does the food pantry, which you'll see later. We've been in partnership with Waitrose, which have donated food and raising awareness in the store. We're in partnership with LEAP, which is promoting physical health. We've been in partnership with the NHS, and you'll hear some more later on from some of the speakers who will come up and tell you a bit about the work that we've been doing with the NHS. We've also been supported by Impact Bucks with our structure. We've collaborated with the NHS on Black History event and the Bucks Hub. We also put on a Windrush event, which was supported by the council. We had a visit from a community in Southampton where we had dinner and we had Domino's playoff. We've had an art workshop, and our contribution was hanging the Bucks Museum. And we've also done a mental health workshop with a public health and talking therapist. So we've done quite a lot in the 7 months in which we have been up and running, and we intend to do a lot more in the coming year. And at this time I'm going to ask a couple of the members to come and actually say what the club has meant to them. So the first person I'm going to call up is Frenda.
Hello everybody. Thank God for where we are today. I started with the club in March, and I found it such a joy to be in the presence of other adults as myself, and even sometimes the children come as well to and enjoy a session or two with us. The club has been one that you could come and express yourself freely. As I know I'm not that old, and it's not just for the elderly, but it's for the senior people of our society, the black community. And a lot of them have come time to time and enjoy themselves, and I enjoy their company. You could gain experience from them. You could talk to them. They're well open to talk to other people and to point you in the direction where you could go in the community to get various pieces of advice. And as a retired nurse, put that in, it helps to break up my week because I worked Monday to Friday constantly for the last 26 years. And just retire and I'm thinking, what will I do with my time after the NHS? But I was able to come to the club and share with others and enjoy my community that, from which I belong. And I pick up other things, other little things to keep my time and to keep me occupied. And retirement is good when you get to that age, but you have got to find other avenues to make yourself still worthy in the community. I like my coming to the center, and I feel that as long as I have the breath and strength, I will be part of the community. And I welcome you all tonight and hope that everyone, that's at home and don't know what to do with your Tuesday can fit in some way or the other. You don't have to come every Tuesday if you don't want to, but you can at least come and enjoy whatever we provide in this community. Thank you.
I wonder if there's anyone else in the club or one more person who would like to say something about what the club means to them. Give it up for Sandra.
I was rapping on this mic earlier, so I'm not going to do a rap now. I am Sandra. I've got to say this, I go to the club really, one of the main reasons is because my parents go, who are elderly, and I want to sort of sit with them and spend my time with them. And one of the things about the club, you get to see people, you can talk, we get to eat as well, good food, and thanks to Tipper, and we communicate with each other, we learn about health, well-being. It's the feel-good factor of like meeting a community of people who you can relate to. It doesn't matter what colour you are, black or white, we sit with anybody, we sit with everybody. But we are a Caribbean community lunch club. But it's just really refreshing to be able to sit with people and reminisce, laugh, cry, whatever, and talk to people. So that's what I get from it. It's really enjoyable. And we wish that we can have other members, people join us and come along and see what it's all about. We get lots of different people, Peter will tell you that, and it's fabulous. Do come along, it's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sandra. Give it up for Sandra. Okay, at this time I'm going to call to the podium our secretary, which is Ronish Myers. She's done a lot of work into ensuring that we have made progress that we have made. And I'm just going to call her up and she's going to tell you about some of the stuff that we've been working on with Hearthrug Box and various different projects.
Thank you all so much for coming. It's nice to see all of you. It has been a lot of preparation, so I just want to say thank you to everyone now who's just made this day happen, but of course thank you all for coming. I am the club secretary, and one thing I will say before I talk about what I wanted to talk about, but I live in Buckinghamshire, and I found that a lot of the time I would spend my time either in London or Milton Keynes, and when Peter asked me about being part of the club, I was like, I'm not sure about it. I'm quite hesitant, but I would say it's probably one of the best things I've done in 2023 when I reflect, and just seeing what we've been able to do, some of the things that we've done in such a short space of time. That's a lot. It may sound like nothing, but it is a lot of work. And I think if we could all do something for our community, it will just make a big difference. So I just want to encourage you all, if you are in Elstree, in Buckinghamshire, get involved. We need more people helping us out to make days like this and events like this much better. And we want to talk proudly about where we live. So if you are interested, come and speak with me. We're always looking for volunteers and so forth. So yeah. But one of the thing that we are looking to do, as Sandra said, it's not just about eating lunch. Whilst that's obviously very important, we understand food is important to our culture and so forth, but we also want to talk about important topics that affect our community. So next year we've done a few workshops. So for example, we've spoken about mental health, and you may or may not know this, but mental health does affect our community a lot higher in comparison to other communities. So there's different things we want to raise awareness about. So next year we want to talk about prostate cancer, sickle cell, menopause, more about mental health, self-care and so forth. So we'll be having workshops and so forth. So please keep an eye out. We've got your details, and we want to do more workshops on this topic, and of course there'll be food. So we just wanted to raise a bit of awareness that that's what's going to be happening. And Heart of Bucks, they've given us a bit of money to run these projects and so forth. So we're really excited about that. So that's me, I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Anish. She's a very hard worker and does a lot of work behind the scenes. As many of you would have met her, the founders of various other bodies, you'll have come into contact with Ranish. There are some more seats, so if there's people coming in, there's some seats there, there's some seats here, there's some seats over there. Okay, while everyone's getting settled, the next person we have coming up is Patrice McKinley. This is a project that we're doing with the NHS, and she's just going to come and tell us a little bit about the work that we have been doing. Give her a hand clap as she comes along.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Patrice. I just wanted to quickly talk about a project that we're doing with the Caribbean Community Lunch Club that myself, Ranish and Vicky are working on. So we're currently carrying out some research which is funded by the NHS, and the research is titled Uncovering the Impact of the Cost of Living Crisis on the Black Community's Mental Wellbeing. And so in a nutshell, we'll be exploring some of the experiences the community has faced in relation to their mental well-being and cost of living crisis that's been going on currently. And so the purpose and importance of doing this research is so that we can understand what's needed for our community and obtain resources that are meaningful and more tailored to us. And also so that we can action practical and effective ways to improve the community's quality of life, especially during these difficult times. And so we really hope our findings are able to lead to some bigger things and benefit the community as a whole. And so in order to collect data, we need to generate this piece of research, we need to have these conversations. And so Ranish and I would like to run a couple of focus groups each, where we will ask questions and hold discussions in relation to the topic. So we're currently looking for about 24 people to take part, 12 for me and 12 for Ranish. So if you are interested in taking part, you can come and sign up with me, and that will be much appreciated. I'll just need your name and email address, and then further information will be sent over to you via that email. But you'll just well, hold on a minute, I've got my lines. But beforehand, I just want to let you know that the focus groups will be held on a weekday in the evening, and will be starting late January and early February as well. And I'm also focusing on the younger population, so young adults, 18 to 30. So I have an age requirement, whereas Ranish doesn't. And yeah, when you come along, you'll be able to have some refreshments and receive a nice voucher for taking part. So yeah, if you, again, I think that's it from me. If you would like to sign up, then please come and find myself. And if you'd like to know any more information as well, you can come and find myself or Renish or Vicky, and we can tell you a bit more about that. And that's everything from me.
Thank you very much, Patrice. We're moving on quickly because we started a little bit late, so we have to catch up time. The next person I'm going to introduce to you is our treasurer, Hayden Lassock, and he's going to come and do a little bit of talk and remember some of those people who have departed or are no longer here with us, members of the club, and he's going to come and just tell us a little bit about that.
Firstly, I'd like to say thank you to everyone for coming. Usually on a Tuesday lunch club, we average about 25. Today, we've had 120 registered, and we've had a lot of people sort of coming in the last minute that we've had to turn away because of numbers. So, unfortunately, because of economic pressures, a lot of our members of working age, a lot of people in the community with children with family issues, work issues, aren't able to come every Tuesday, where it's mostly the sort of the retired generation. But just seeing all the numbers out here today, it just shows how strong the community is, both in terms of A, the black and the mixed race community, but B, if we look at all the amount of white people and people of other faiths that are coming around and supporting us and taking interest in what we do. So I think round of applause for that. Yeah, unfortunately we've had a few bereavements in the last year. So we've got a picture here of Mr. Happy, Mr. Wilson, with his granddaughter Leanne. I'd just like to say, I started coming to this club over 10 years ago. My grandmother was suffering with dementia, and I was caring for her. And sometimes it can be hard caring for an old person on your own, and it gets a bit monotonous. But whenever I brought my grandmother down here, she couldn't talk, but when she could listen to the stories of her friends and her peer group talking to each other, she would smile, and that smile just let me know that even though she wasn't able to talk, she could still understand certain things. So maybe if I asked her what she had for lunch 2 hours ago, she would remember. But hearing Miss Daisy and Mr. Wilson and Mr. Dunkley's voice, it perked her up, and it gave me the strength and that conviction to keep caring for her and to keep looking after her. So A, we run the lunch club to honour the elder generation. They put in a lot, so perhaps they didn't have an opportunities to go to university and stuff because of the first generation here. They were, a lot of the times overemployed, right? They had qualifications far higher than the jobs they were supposed to do. But it meant that future generations like myself were able to, go on to university and stuff like that. But in terms of the younger generation, many are working, and there's a lot of mixed race children, I'm 40, but those in their 20s, that they grow up with maybe one black grandparent. My mate's never had one black grandparent, but they don't necessarily know what that culture is. So by having this club, that enables us, for me to remember the stories of Mr. Wilson, and then if we can go to the next slide, please. Yeah, and that's Mr. Stan Williams, and his fabulous wife, Miss Iselin, is here today, and I think it's the first time she's been here since her husband passed. And it was fabulous to just hear all the stories from someone like Mr. Williams he hadn't even been open for a year. But in terms of, I've got those stories penciled into my brain. So when the younger generation come and want to know what it was like for, the likes of Mr. and Mrs. Williams, Miss Daisy and so on, they can come to me and I can relay those stories of what it was like when that generation first came here in the 1950s. So yeah, Mr. Williams, an excellent speaker, he did a talk where some students came from ABA, 15 and 16-year-olds, and they were doing a project, and he spoke so elegantly to them, and you could tell how he managed to, maintain the interest and the focus of a bunch of 15 and 16-year-old children for like 30, 45 minutes. So that was his fabulous contribution, and unfortunately Mr. Williams is no longer with us. But those memories, A, we have in our mind, but B, those students have recordings of interviews with Mr. Williams that will serve to help future generations. So, yeah, round of applause. Okay, and the next one. Okay, so this is Mrs. Madge Bailey. She was our long-time treasurer, and this is a photo of her with, I think, many of her grandchildren. So yeah, she was a treasurer. She cooked in the kitchen for over 20 years. I think this club basically started in the mid-1970s. Madge, she's the amount of mouths in Aylesbury that she's fed for free over the years. So yeah, her contribution to to have this club in the position today was also fantastic. So around the applause. So the last thing I'd like to say is a thank you to all the funders from the council. They gave us a grant at the beginning of the year, to keep this club going. If we didn't have any funding to basically break even on the Tuesday club, it would cost about £14 a head. And we have many members, it's a husband and wife together, so for them to find £28 every week would be a lot. So with the funding that we have, we're able to keep the cost at £7 a head on a Tuesday, which means that anyone that wants to come, can come, play dominoes, enjoy some good food, and the younger generation as well. We have some students up here doing some training to get into work, and they don't know us, but when they come down, it's like, oh, your grandmother, your grandfather was a member of our club. So we have those links there. We need to bridge those links and reach out more to the younger generation. That's our aim in the next sort of 12 to 18 months. So thank you to all the funders, to the council, to LEAP and some of those organisations that Ron each mentioned previously. We will be having a collection at the end of the talks as well. So that would help a lot in terms of the cost of the catering's rising and stuff, so we really do want to keep the cost of £7 a head for the members for as long as possible. So thank you very much.
Now we're privileged to have with us the Mayor of Aylesbury, Councillor Stephen Lambert, and we're going to ask him to come up and just say a few words.
Thank you so much. It's a real privilege to be here with you this evening. I've worked with Adam for many years. He really is Mr. Community and really does drive a lot of the connection between the council and the councillors and the community. Your work is extraordinary and we miss you here in Aylesbury, and we'll just move to Wickham and we miss you, and don't be a stranger to us, please. The other person is B. The work that B does or did at Aylesbury Town Council was significant in outreach to the community of every shape and size. I grew up with a foster sister from Jamaica, and her father was a Windrush person, overqualified, underemployed. He was lucky enough to fulfil his dream of building his little house back in his plot in Jamaica, and did retire there and sadly passed away. Growing up with a West Indian sister was a lesson to me in community. My mother was also half Indian, my father's family date from Germany, so I had a real multicultural background. Moving here to Aylesbury, I felt like a fish out of water. So how people feel like a fish out of water when they don't look like me is really quite something. The fact that you come together and have done for so many years and been revived in March is a testament to your community's strength of character and belief that we are a community. What drives me as a councillor and as mayor is bringing the community together and harnessing the power to do good, which strange enough is in legislation in my job title, power to do good, and I abuse it constantly. My partner is also a Latina Caribbean, and his mum hails from, and he does also from Venezuela. And so I also have that connection too. And if anybody, when I met Sandra over here, who asked me when I came in whether I've been naughty or nice, and I met Sandra at Latina evening. I can tell you that she can really salsa. And she put me through my paces at times. She encouraged me to come along and find out more about the Caribbean Community Lunch Club and to be here this evening. And I'm so glad to be part of your celebration. And also to lend the hand of support and friendship from the Mayor to you as a community. And anything that I can do to support you to grow that community and make it more sustainable, I will do. I draw strength from all of you in this room, knowing that we're on the right path to community harmony and cohesion. And coming together over food is always a really good thing. I'm going to stop now because Winston Churchill had this quote, which I'm going to mangle terribly. She said, "A speech should be like a lady's skirt." It should be short enough to keep interest and long enough not to get bored. So this speech is going to end right now with that thought process. Thank you very much.
I'll give it up for the Mayor. Okay, next up we have our guest speaker, Eddie Smythe. Is that, that's it, pronounce that right?
You have, yes.
And he's going to come and share with us.
Hello everyone. I had no idea what to expect when I came here today. I only live in China, so not far away. And I have to say, being here now, it's a real privilege. So thank you very much, Vanessa, for inviting me. I'm going to talk to you today about someone who was an inspiration to me. That's my father, John Henry Smythe. He was born, turn the next one. He was born in Freetown, Sierra Leone in 1915. And following the Battle of Britain, when the RAF handed out the first ever defeat to Germany, they realised they now had to go on the offence. They'd been great at defence, but they had to take the war to Germany, and to do so, they would launch the biggest bombing campaign the world had ever seen, which would require the building of hundreds, thousands of planes, and of course, they would need air crew. And it became evident very quickly that Britain wasn't going to be able to supply the numbers needed, and so they reached out to the British Commonwealth. And men like John, men and women like Johnny, volunteered in their thousands to join the war effort. Okay, next one. Now, I get asked quite often, why did your father really want to go to war? I mean, this is a dangerous thing, putting your life at risk. He's from Sierra Leone, which you can see there in West Africa, over 3,000 miles away. He had a comfortable life, the weather was great. Why did he really want to go and fight? Next one, please. The easy answer, the simple answer, which I've alluded to, is that Sierra Leone was part of the British Empire. At that particular time of our history, nearly a quarter of the world was part of the British Empire. So that's the easy answer. But I did a talk in a school in London about a year ago, and when I was finished, I said, any questions? And this young black boy put his hands up, he was about 12 years old, and he stood up and he said, why did your father want to fight for the country that enslaved his people? And I went, right, you know, and it knocked me back, and I thought, okay, I need to address this in some more detail. Next one, please. So as I said, Johnny was from Sierra Leone. If you look at the picture of Sierra Leone, it's made of lots of different tribes. I haven't got my pointer with me, but on the left-hand side in the corner, you'll see something called Creole. It's a very small tribe, less than 2% of the whole country. 250 years ago, there was no such thing as Creole. The Creoles did not exist. So where did they come from? Well, from several areas. First of all, end of the 18th century, there were a group of people living in London known as the All Blacks. These were indentured servants, former slaves, living in London mainly, with no way of supporting themselves. And they were a bit of an embarrassment. And it was decided they should be sent back to Africa. Sierra Leone was the country that was chosen, and they were sent to Sierra Leone. They didn't do that well initially. Lots of them died from diseases. And the indigenous people, they actually burnt down the first village. They didn't want these foreigners living with them. But their numbers were later on boosted. During the War of Independence, the American War of Independence, Britain put out a message to slaves: if you can come and fight for us, we'll give you your freedom. And hundreds of slaves left their slave masters and they joined Britain. They fought for Britain in the War of Independence. They were known as the loyal blacks. Now, of course, we know what happened because Britain lost the War of Independence. And the first thing the Americans said was, we want our slaves back. We want our valuable property back. Notwithstanding the fact that Britain had lost the war, they said, you're not getting your slaves back. And they sent them to Nova Scotia, which was a British colony. And they were given their freedom. Things didn't work out too well for them in Nova Scotia and Canada. The weather was bad. And later on, this group of people were sent to Sierra Leone. And their numbers were further boosted by a group of people from Jamaica. You may have heard of them, the Maroons. About 500 slaves that the British never ever managed to subdue. And they were sent to Sierra Leone. And lastly, by the early 1900s, although Britain had outlawed the slave trade, there were ships still plying their trade across the Atlantic. And when the British Navy intercepted these ships, the slaves were free and they were sent to Sierra Leone. Now, repatriation is a great idea, but the ex-Nigerian slaves weren't sent to Nigeria, the ex-Ghanaian slaves weren't sent to Ghana, Somalians weren't sent to Somali. They were all put in this little area in Sierra Leone. They spoke different languages, they dressed differently, they built their houses differently, the food they ate was different, so they had to come together and they had to form a new culture. And this was the Creoles. They actually learned a new language made out of English, some French words, some Portuguese words, some African words. That's what I grew up speaking with my friends. We spoke Creole. And they believed in education. They were to build the first university in West Africa, and they became the doctors and the lawyers and the engineers. They would dominate early government. They dressed like the Victorian British, because a lot of them had been exposed to the British culture. And the British invested in them because they wanted them to spread Christianity, they wanted them to improve trade links between West Africa and Sierra Leone. They were a high-achieving group of people with very close links to Britain. They were even entitled to British passports. And very easy to spot a Creole if you come across a Sierra Leone. Bearing in mind they're less than 2% of the population. They have British surnames like Smythe, Brown, Jones. And the reason we have those names is because they were names given to us by the slave masters. Slave masters couldn't speak, they couldn't work out or understand African names, and we were given British names. So there was this very close link between the Creoles, not the whole of Sierra Leone, just the Creoles, less than 2% in Britain. So you can see why, when Britain reached out to the colonies for assistance in the war effort, people like Johnny volunteered very quickly. And also he looked very dashing in the RAF uniform. So they volunteered, the RAF conducted tests and exams, and those who passed were selected. 6 were selected from Sierra Leone. Of course, all Creoles. Next one, please. And they would go by ship to Britain. First port of call I recall was in Scotland, Greenock. Can you imagine? Coming from Sierra Leone, Scotland in November. Shock to the system. But they would go through their initial recruitment training based in St John's Wood in London. They did all their marching at the Lord's Cricket Ground because cricket no longer was played once the war started. Their meals were taken at Regent's Park Zoo because the animals had been evacuated. And those who passed the first tests and exams were selected for aircrew. Not everyone was suitable for aircrew. Some became engineers, mechanics, wireless operators. Every job was important as the others, but not everyone was suitable for aircrew. Johnny was selected for aircrew. Next one, please. And so he starts training. He starts training to be a pilot. The picture there on the left, which someone has defaced by putting a cross on, you can just about see him where he was training to fly. And he was good at it. He had already gone solo, but at this particular stage of the war, the bombing accuracy was incredibly bad. It was estimated that 1 bomb out of every bomb load that was dropped fell within 5 miles of the target. So the targets weren't being destroyed. And the reason they weren't being destroyed was because there was an accurate bombing, and they realised that each crew needed a specialist, and that specialist would be a navigator, because before then it was done by an observer. So all the trainee pilots with high mathematical aptitude were trained to become navigators. Johnny, because he was very good at maths, was trained to be a navigator. He was disappointed because he wanted to fly, but he was in the RAF now, he would do what he was told. And the picture on the right, you can see him there with a basic instrument being instructed by the RAF. So when they finish their training, they have final exams. There's about 90 of them in the camp, and out of the 90, 4 would be immediately promoted to officers, and Johnny was now promoted to an officer. So he was Flight Officer Johnny Smythe. Now this is a big achievement. I mean, I'll give you a bit of context. In 1939, just before the war started, the RAF had a colour bar. So if you were black, you weren't allowed into the RAF. So it was only lifted when the war started. And even when the RAF started recruiting from the colonies, they only recruited from the white colonies, Australia, Canada, New Zealand. It was only when they were under even more pressure that they looked to recruit from the black colonies. But here's the thing, not all black colonies. They recruited mainly from the Caribbean. 5,500 men and women from the Caribbean. Population in the Caribbean at that time, 350,000. In Africa, and the Africans always supported the war. You often hear this phrase mentioned. In 1939, Britain stood alone. It never stood alone. When they declared war, most of the British Empire declared war as well. The Africans supported the war effort. They sent money, they sent clothes, they volunteered in their thousands. Here's the thing, population of 1 billion people, the RAF recruited only 60 men from Africa. And Johnny was one of the 60, and he was now an officer, so this was a big deal. Next one, please. So now they start training to fly the aircraft they're going to use to bomb. And it was a short Stirling, it was the RAF's first 4-engine bomber. By the time their squadron got it, it was almost obsolete. It couldn't fly as fast or as high, carry as many bombs as the Halifax or the more popular Lancaster. But that's the plane they had. Next one, please. And had to come together in a crew. There's Johnny's crew. I'm not going to give any prizes for spotting which one is Johnny. I'm 6'2", he's nearly 6'5". It was a tall frame to get into the plane. So they were trained together as a crew, and it wasn't easy. You know, these planes were quite fragile at the time. There was no oxygen over 10,000 feet because they weren't pressurized. They would need to wear oxygen masks. There was no heating. It was freezing cold. The RAF only flew at night, so it was dark. Only the navigator had a small light. They had lots of accidents whilst training. Mid-air collisions, crashes on landing, getting lost. You know, it was a hard, difficult time. And let's not forget, these men were quite young. Some of them were barely out of their teens. So huge amount of responsibility on these very young shoulders. But eventually, they would be ready. They would be ready to do the thing that they'd come together to do. And that was to go to war. And they were given their first mission. You can only imagine the nerves as they set out, crossed the channel to Germany, found their target, dropped their bombs, got back. The relief, you can't imagine, the exhilaration. But of course, not everyone gets back. Johnny said he'd wake up in the morning and the bunk next door was empty. Someone would come during the course of the day and pick up the books, the personal items, the clothes, the pictures. And the day after, there'd be someone else in the bunk. That was someone who didn't come back. Life expectancy at that time was between 5 and 7 missions. Later on in the war, it went up. When the German machinery was suitably degraded, when the planes were better, when the bombers had fighter escort all the way to the target and back, life expectancy went up. At that time, it was between 5 to 7 missions. So these young men, when they weren't flying, when they weren't training, they were partying hard because they didn't expect to see the end of the war. On the 18th of November 1943, they're tasked with a target in Germany, heavily defended. They know it's going to be a difficult target. And they set off, 5:15 from Downham Market. The approaching the target in Germany, and they can see the searchlights looking through the sky. They can see the explosions from the shells, and then they're amongst it. They've been shaken by explosions, and the thing they feared might happen did happen. A shell exploded underneath the plane. The shell didn't actually even have to hit the plane, it just had to explode near it, because it sent shards of hot metal flying through the aircraft. One of the engines was knocked out immediately. Johnny was hit in the thigh, a bit of shrapnel went through his abdomen, straight in the front and out the back. They were so close to the target that they continued, and they dropped the bombs, turned to come back to Britain, praying they could make it. But with 3 engines, they couldn't get up high, which is what they needed to do, and they were picked up by a night fighter, which riddled them with bullets. They knew they weren't going to get back to Britain, and the skipper gave the order, bail out. So next picture, please. And this is an actual picture of the plane, E-Easy. It continued to fly for 10 miles and almost made a perfect pancake landing in a farm outside a small village in Germany. We know this. The farmer came out, put out the flames using a shovel and dirt, and looked inside. Of course, there was no one there. His daughter actually made a report, which is online, so we know this is the actual plane. If you go to the next one, please. This is an extract from the operational record book for November 18. Normally I'm standing next to it and I can point it out to you, but third down and second, you'll see John Smythe. And if you go to the right, it'll say it took off at 5:15, aircraft failed to return, nothing heard after takeoff. Interestingly enough, if you look at the writing for the plane above that, it says exactly the same thing. These were difficult times, these planes weren't coming back. So what happens to Johnny? Well, Johnny lands, he makes a successful parachute jump, he lands in the middle of a snow-covered field, takes off his parachute, hides it. He sees some lights in the distance, he approaches tentatively, and it's a tavern. There's some bicycles outside, and he steals the bicycle and he cycles as fast and as far away from this area as he can, because he knows they're going to be looking for downed crew. He sees a barn in the end and he thinks, I need some rest. I mean, he's had a hard day by this time. He throws the bicycle in the river and crawls into this barn for some sleep. He makes his first mistake, he lights a cigarette. He was later to find out that someone stole a light from the cigarette. He hadn't been there for 20 minutes and he heard these German voices shouting outside. And he thought, I don't speak German, but I hope that's got nothing to do with me. And then they started firing bullets in the barn, so he knew he'd been caught. He came out with his arms raised, of course, and surrendered. You can imagine the look on these German guards' faces to see a 6'5" black man in an RAF officer's uniform. The first thing they said to him was, why are you in an RAF uniform? He said, because I'm in the RAF. Why are you in an officer's uniform? Because I'm an officer. And they said about him, he was beaten quite badly. Growing up as a child, my father never ever spoke about the war. No matter how I tried to get him to talk about it, he never did. The year before he died, I finally got him to talk. And he spoke without emotion. Yes, this happened, we were shot down, etc. No emotion whatsoever. But the only time he did show emotion is when he talked about this particular time. Because he was being hit with rifle butts, and he said there was this officer, quite a short man, he hit him with a rifle butt twice. Now bear in mind, he's still bleeding from his wounds. And he decides, the next time he approaches me, I will break his neck. It will take 2 seconds, and I will be killed, but he's expected to die. Fortunately, he never approached him again, because if he had done, I would be here. Next slide, please. As you can see from this picture, Johnny was a very fit man, so he could take the shooting down, he could take the beating, he survived. And after this brutal interrogation, he was sent to a hospital, luckily, his wounds were treated, and from there, he was sent to a prisoner of war camp. Next picture, please. And this is Stalag Luft 1. It's in Bata, in East Germany. It is a bleak location. Now I know that because I was invited by a group of Germans in January to visit this location. And it was fantastic. Going there, actually walking around where he was kept. But they gave me a picture of him which I've never seen before. Next one, please. this picture was given to me in January. I'd never seen it before. I said, look, we've got a picture of your father. And they also told me a horrendous story. Something that he went through which he never ever talked about, which I haven't got time to talk to you about at the moment, but is pretty bad. Can you go back one, please? Suffice to say, I'm in touch with them. They've invited me to go out next year to do a talk. They're having a big celebration. The Germans have come to terms with the war. They don't think people should forget it. So they were in there. This was a bleak place. There was nowhere to escape to. People did try and escape. They were always caught because there's nowhere to run to. When we celebrated 50 years after the end of the war, the Times did an article about my father, and the reporter went to his house. And I had the privilege of sitting in and listening to this interview. And this reporter was sitting there wide-eyed as she was telling about the war. And when he talked about the prisoner of war camp, he said, "So, Mr. Smythe, did you try and escape?" And he said, "Well, yeah," he said, "because I could have escaped, because if I had managed to, I could have mingled with all the other 6'5" black men in Germany at the time." For him, escape was not possible. We heard about mental health earlier on. You can imagine these young men, miles away from home, all they had to listen to all day was propaganda being played in loudspeakers all the way around. But bombing your countries or killing your family, that's all they were hearing. So you can imagine the mental health, the torture that they went through. That's all they heard. But, in fact, they did know what was going on. Because through bribery, trickery, they managed to get enough bits to make a small radio. I seem to be cutting out of it. They put together a small radio, and with that radio, hi, is that better? So they put together a small radio, and with that radio, they could follow the progress of the war, and they knew that the Allies were winning the war. They knew that the Americans and the British were coming in from the west, the Russians were coming in from the east, so they were hoping they were going to be liberated. But with that hope came fear. What are they going to do before they get there? They'd heard about the gas chambers, they'd heard about the forced marches, so there was a lot of angst about it. But one morning, April 1945, they woke up. There was silence, no roll call. The Germans were stickler for their roll calls. 6 o'clock every morning, there was a roll call. There was nothing. It was deathly quiet. They stepped out of their huts. They couldn't see any German guards. They looked up in the towers all the way around. No guards. The gates were wide open. They were gone. And the reason they were gone is because they knew the Russians were close. They did not want to be captured by the Russians. The Russians had gone through a lot themselves, and they were merciless with the Germans. So they disappeared. They'd headed west. If they were going to surrender, they were going to surrender to the British and to the Americans. So you had these prisoner of wars, they were now free. The Americans sent planes to get their guys back, the RAF sent planes to get their guys back, and Johnny heads back himself. He's now in Britain, back in London. So he's been shot down, he's been wounded, he's been brutally interrogated, he's been locked up for 18 months. What's the first thing he does when he gets back? He signs up for a second tour. Luckily, before they could become operational, the bombs were dropped in Nagasaki and Hiroshima. The World War was over. So he remained in the RAF, but he was seconded to the Colonial Office. The role of the Colonial Office was to look after the welfare of the mainly ex-Caribbean men and women who were now living in Britain. The war was over. It was a difficult time for them. They were miles away from home. They didn't have the discipline of the military behind them. And his role was to help look after their welfare. And it was whilst that he was in this role that he was... Okay? Yeah. So whilst he was in this... Switch back to this. So it was whilst in this role, as attaché to the Colonial Office, he was required to board the Empire Windrush. Next picture, please. This is one of several pictures you'll see whenever they talk about the Windrush. If you look closely on the left, the second person, that's Johnny. He was the senior officer on board the Windrush. We know a lot about the Windrush coming to this country, but not a lot is known about the Windrush going out to the Caribbean. And what it was doing, it was taking a very large contingent of demobilized military men back home to the Caribbean. So it set off, it got to Trinidad, dropped a load of people off. The last island was Jamaica, which had the biggest contingent. When it got to Jamaica, the Labour officer came on board with his crew to interview these men. And at that time, the economy in Jamaica was very bad. Unemployment was very high. And they appealed to Britain for help because they didn't have the jobs to give their returning sons that were required. And the colonial office contacted Johnny, who was the senior officer, and said, "You are the man there, you must interview them, you must come up with suggestions and recommendations." This he did do, and if you go to the next picture please, this is a copy of the actual telegram that Johnny sent from the Windrush ship whilst it was based in Jamaica back to the colonial office. I'm not sure if you can read it there, but if you look closely, it says, "Smythe, Empire Windrush, stop. 300 people requiring accommodation." And then it goes to set out the numbers of engineers, the numbers of engineers, numbers of farm workers, men wanting to re-enlist. And he sent this telegram back to the colonial office, and his recommendations were that they should come back to Britain. Now, as we all know, that ship did come back to Britain. These men did come back. And that was what we now know as the Windrush generation.
What to say? 50 builders, 50 ex-factory workers, 50 farmers, 50 to re-enlist in the RAF, 50 army, 25.
Thank you. So this was the actual recommendation. Next one, please. So Johnny, still in the RAF, he studies law at the Inns of Court. He marries his wife, Violet. She is Grenadian. So you see, I'm half Caribbean. You're thinking, what's this African man here doing talking to us about Windrush? Well, I'm half Caribbean, so they got married. He goes back to Sierra Leone, works for the government initially. He becomes Attorney General. He does a tour of America. Next one, please. He meets the then Attorney General, Robert Kennedy. That's him there. That's them sitting in the White House. He attends the Martin Luther King speech. He does lots of tours in different universities. Next one, please. He's actually awarded the gold key to the city of Miami Beach by the local police force, which I have hanging in my office. Next one, please. And once he finishes working with the government, he sets up his own legal practice and he becomes a Queen's Counsel, has his own chambers. Amongst his many medals, as you can see, the next one, please. This is a medal which was awarded to him by Germany. I haven't got time to tell you the story because I've got to be quick. But this is a medal given to him by Germany, the people that he was at war with. And the person who recommended to the German government that he get awarded this medal is possibly the person who shot him down, who became an ambassador for Germany in Sierra Leone. And only 2 Africans ever received this medal, Emperor Haile Selassie and Johnny Smythe. Johnny has a very successful career, and when he finishes, he comes back to Britain, his ancestral home. Next one, please. He lives with me for a while in Thame. And in 1996 he passes away. That's my mum and dad there in Thame. And the Sierra Leone government wanted him back for a big state funeral. And he goes, no. In fact, we only found out after he died, he'd been down to the co-op in the high street and arranged his own funeral. And he was buried in St Mary's Church in Thame. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the talk.
Such an extraordinary story. We're coming down, one last speaker, and we hope they'll be very quick. It's Carrie Granger, is that correct? Just in time then. Was it May West had another version of the mayor's comment that a speech should be long enough to cover the subject matter and short enough to gain interest. So Carrie.
I promise I'll be really quick. Sorry. So I'm Carrie Granger. I work for an organisation called Bob LMS, which is the Buckinghamshire, Oxfordshire and Berkshire West local maternity and neonatal system. And we've got an opportunity coming up for anybody that's utilised the service, maternity or neonatal, but ideally maternity, but it's an opportunity. We're setting up a pelvic health service. So one of the things that I do is work in sort of prevention stuff around public health, vaccination, healthy eating, all those kind of stuff. And we're looking for somebody who's utilised maternity services probably in the last 10 years, 15 years, whenever you fancy it, really. It doesn't really matter. So long as you've utilised maternity services, because we're setting up a pelvic health service, and what we want is someone that can lead and link with the community to help us improve services for people that are going to be utilising maternity services. So if anybody's interested, come along and have a little chat with me later in a green Christmas jumper, and that's literally it. So that was really quick, is that all right?
Thank you so much, Carrie. I think we've come to the time now ready to eat. Could we have the lights back on? Could we have someone to move the screen so that we can Hayden, our treasurer, is going to go around and just do a collection just while you get ready to eat. Okay, where's our DJ? Where's the DJ? When the caterers let me know, we're just going to say grace. When they let me know they're ready, and then we'll say grace. So caterers, please let me know when you're ready. Just wave your hand, and then we'll say grace. Are you ready? Okay, we've got a couple of minutes. Okay, we'll say the grace while they're getting ready. We'll say the grace while they're getting ready. Can we just have your attention, please? We just want to say the grace for the Christmas dinner. You know, there's one thing which I want to say. When I used to work in the NHS and I used to work in mental health, and at Christmas time we always had a spike in suicides. And I never quite understood why we'd have a spike in the suicide rates, and that was because a lot of people didn't have the opportunity to have a Christmas dinner with family because they'd either fallen out. And so that's one of the things I always wanted to do, was to have a community Christmas dinner that everyone could come and enjoy. And you know, if we could make it free so as many people as possible could come, so that at Christmas time at least somebody could say, I've had a Christmas dinner with somebody. So that's one of the reasons why we enjoy having these Christmas dinners for the community. So we're just going to say grace. In fact, we have Pastor Kay with us, and I'm going to ask him to come up and just say grace.
Wonderful. Well, let's pray. Father, we thank you for this food. We thank you for this community and our time together. And we pray, God, that you would bless both the food that we eat, the hands that have made it, and our time and conversation. Help us, God, to build stronger links, both with the past, the present, and the future, and one another. In Jesus' name, amen.
Everyone, are you ready? Is the food ready? You're not quite ready? Okay. Can we have some music? Go chat with somebody while they're just finishing off the little bits and pieces. We're going to have some music. Introduce yourself to somebody on your table who you may not have known before. Just to tell you some of the things coming up tonight after the food. After the food we'll be having a quiz and knuckle. We'll be having a pantry. Again, this is all coming up tonight when we finish eating. Please join the queue.
Claudia. Oh, thank you. See, do you want to go and choose a prize? We're going to give it a shake so we get a mixture of numbers. Take it all about. Wow! We have 33, my age. Who laughed? Even the mayor's laughing. Do we have 33? Yes, it's Paul Blake. Congratulations. Number 5, someone who came at the beginning, 33. Number 5, oh, Richard, and I remember the name. Congratulations. Thank you. Mr. Portugal. He lives in Portugal. Number 107, definitely not my age, but I feel like that sometimes. 107. If we don't have anyone claim it, we pick again. 107. Right, so we're going to pick again. If you don't claim it, we choose again. We haven't got time to wait, I'm afraid. Number 32, near to my age. Number 32. Valerie, well done, congratulations. The mayor is trying to pick his own ticket. That is a thing. 100, that's what I felt like when I woke up this morning. I saw the rain. 100. Has anyone got ticket 100? Anyone got 100? They might not be here. 100. Well, they're not in here, I'm afraid, so we will just draw again. Sorry. One number 69. Number 7, someone who came really early. Who's that? My mum. There is no tricks on that one. She's the best woman in the world. $105. There's got to be somebody that's in this room because you picked the ticket. 105? No, we choose again. Going once, going twice, gone. 101. No hundreds, I don't know what's going on there. Number 48. 48. Does anyone have 48? Going once, going twice, gone. You didn't claim it. We're just gonna... Well, sorry. It is what it is. Number 35. 35. Bring it on! Bring it on! It's a Philip Pascal himself. Number 12. Whoa! Good on you. I know. How many we got left, Claudette? How many prizes? About 5. Go again. 53. 53. Yay! Yes, bring it on. We have a winner for 53. 97. What I look like before I put my makeup on. 97. That's what I feel like sometimes anyway. 97. Do we have a 97? Seems like if it's higher than 70 we don't see anyone for some reason. 97. Going once, going twice, gone. Let's go again. Number 19. 97? Have we got one? 90. Oh my goodness. Number 40. 40. Bring it on. Claudia, how many prizes have we got left? 2 more prizes. 1. spin a pick and then, oh yes. Number one. Number one. Brilliant. I said she was lucky when she took the tickets. Can we give everybody a round of applause? Well done, everybody. Well done. Thank you very much. We want to do a little bit of dancing. We've got to dance for 5 minutes at least, so we'll make some room somewhere and shake a little leg. Who's with me? Let's do it. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. We really appreciate your help. Thank you.
Bring it on home to me.
bring your sweet loving, bring it on home to me. I'll give you true love and money too. That ain't all I'll do for you. Oh, bring it to me, bring your sweet loving, bring it on home to me. all the mistletoe. I'm gonna get to know you better this Christmas. And as we trim the tree, how much fun it's gonna be together. Yeah. This Christmas, the fireside is blazing bright. Oh yeah. And we're caroling through the night. And this Christmas will be a very special Christmas for me. Yeah.
Hi ladies and gentlemen, just help yourselves to desserts. There's fruit, cake, whatever you want. Well, you can be a fruit cake if you want to, but there's fruit and there's cake up on the table in the corner there, so do help yourselves.
Love God, my best friend. Brothers all the time. What's like that? This is my love, you want to call him. Sing on. He's my best friend. He's my best friend. The most like that, yeah, yeah. He's my best friend. Most like that. Jesus is my best friend. He's the kind of friend who knows all my problems. He's the kind of friend who's just when it's broken. Listen to me. He's the kind of friend who knows all my situation, and all I got to do, I'm gonna do is call upon his name. He's my best friend. He's my best friend. The most like that, yeah, yeah. He's my best friend. I got Jesus, most like that. Jesus is my best friend. He's always there when I need him. He's always there when I fall. After the time of the season, he won't take his love away at all. He won't take his love away from me. No matter what I do, no matter what I do, he's always there for me. He's my best friend. He's my best friend. The most like that, yeah, yeah. He's my best friend. Jesus is my best friend. Put a coat on me, I don't hold on the eye. That's me, God and girls. Tell you this once, now hear this one. I'll correct it, I'm not in my get first. And I don't keep to me, if me, I put you all again, then I in the first time. He's a friend. I'm a beg of it, my hand binds. If I friend you, I need them run straight. He's my best friend. He's my best friend. He's my best friend. Most like God. Jesus is my best friend. He's my best friend. He's my best friend. and stand firm in your struggle. Jump from all the hurdles, share your burden. I might say to yourself,
Guys, can I have your attention? We found a bracelet. Has anyone lost a bracelet? If not, it's going on eBay. If anyone's lost any jewellery, it's a bracelet. Oh, is it? Oh. We're not going to tell you what type of bracelet. You'll have to describe it. Yeah. It's my sister's.
Yeah, that's mine.
She just described it.
It's mine. Yeah.
sometimes the focus down. This I cannot deny, but I just can't give up. No, cause the mountain seems too high. Cause I must always remember the promise has been made. One day I'll see God's face, so then I'll keep on praying. I'm counting all my blessings. At times my faith gets weak, but I keep holding on. I won't accept defeat. Oh no, 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 no. But my people have got to be strong. Cause I must always remember a promise has been made. One day I'll see God's face, so then I'll keep on praying. I'm counting on my blessings. One day I'll see God's face, so then I'll keep on praying. I'm counting on my blessings.
Hello. Hi guys, sorry to spoil your fun, but can I just make a very quick announcement? We have a food pantry at the back of the room there, and we're asking all our guests if you could come up and take 3 items that you believe that you need or you could help somebody with. Once you've taken 3 items, you are welcome to go back again. We're going to make a queue, but we have a pantry at the back. It's a food pantry, and our items, you can take 3 items. You might be able to help somebody with them, and then once everybody's been up, we can then go up again. So it's right at the back of the room. We've been very lucky this year with donations, so please help yourselves. It's at the back of the room. I'm going to just repeat it again. The food pantry is at the back of the room.
testify. When you put up on your hands, we shall lift them high. When you go down our knees and the time we have first and praise, and the blessing I go multiply. God alone make you praise, me not trust for God. And devil out there look soulful. And the same God here, the same God and I never stop me. Praises to the Most High. Them could have never take me glory. God, none of them know the story. Angel of the Lord, they can't control me. See them a try, but they can't control me. Wisdom and vision, the Lord has shown me. Him say no put no other God before me. So we are praise and a praise and a praise, and we not stop praise the Almighty Lord. Holy Ghost, and it came just right on time. Yes, He said, and He's keeping me alive, keeping me alive. Here's what I got. Oh Lord God Almighty, our strength and redeemer. Glory, have mercy upon the children of men. All the days of my life, need to touch your mojo. Lord, I thank you for life. Yes, I thank you for my blessings, and I thank you for each and every day. Angel protection, if I'm right. Don't be gun silence, every voice so I evil I run up, but we want the right. So we pray for the man who need and God, pray for the rum, don't pray for the people the right. Some people and some got down on me, pray to me, I'm full of realize. Father, we thank you for health, thank you for life, thank you that we can see the light. Father, we ask for guidance and protection, keep we healing and the right. Cause we know these are the days that work, prophesy where we can shall rule.
So this is Christmas, and what have you done? Another year over, the new one just begun. And so this is Christmas, I hope you have fun. The near and the dear one, the old and the young, a very Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. Let's hope it's a good one, without any fear. So this is Christmas, what have we done? Another year over, the new one just begun. I hope you have found the near and the dear one, the old and the young. A very Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. Let's hope it's a good one without any fear. What is over if you want it? What is over now? What is over if you want it? What is over?